Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm drawing a dinosaur for a really good friend, and I've printed out some reference images. I've selected these three because this one has really good detail on the scales of the skin, or whatever you call it, on the T-Rex. This one shows the anatomy quite well, and this last one shows the feet where the other two don't. So I'm going to be using all three for reference. And I'll be working on a pastelmat sheet of paper. This is A3 size. I'm not sure what that stripe is on it. It kind of came like that. I got a packet of 5 loose sheets, and unfortunately it was sealed and it was kind of damaged inside, but I don't think it'll be visible after I draw on it, so it should be fine. And I've also taken out a sheet of glassine, so when I actually do put color on it, I won't smudge it. Now I'm starting with a pastel pencil, and I'm doing the marking as light as I possibly can so that if I need to change or erase anything, hopefully I'll be able to. It's generally pretty hard to erase anything off this paper, so I'm not sketching the way that I normally would with graphite on plain paper, where I'd normally put kind of loads of little lines knowing that I can erase what I don't need. With this, I'm using a white pastel pencil, and I'm doing very minimal amount of lines for just putting down the shape to make sure the kind of proportions are okay. And if I need to correct them later, I have a putty rubber that I'm gonna try and use, and hopefully it works. Now, I've just put down this leg and realized that's not where I want the front leg, so I've put down a different direction for the front leg, and I'm gonna try to use the one I already drew as a back leg and see if it works, or if I need to change any more of it. I've left the feet for now until I get the general kind of gist of the landscape, and I'm starting to see that this back leg is going to need some fixing, but until I have the feet down, I can't see if it's like sort of looking stable on its feet. So just putting little bits of detail as I go, and then just decide which bits I need to erase. And this is the part where I need to fix that leg because it doesn't look stable. It looks like it would tip over on those legs. And this is a really scary part because it's kind of coming off, but you can sort of still see the lines where the original lines were. But I'm also hoping that once I start coloring, the layers of pastel that I'm going to put down on top to fill in the color should hopefully cover up any mistakes I made in the sketching process. Now that the basic sketch is done, I can go over the outline a little bit, just make it more visible and easier to follow as a guide for putting down color. Because when it's very light, then leaning on it smudges it and just makes it harder to see. After completing this bit, I decided to go have a cup of tea before setting up my colors, and I came back to find my cat just chilling on the drawing. He does that sometimes, but that kind of means that I can't draw until he decides that he wants to leave. I guess it's cuddle time. Normally this isn't something I would film, or if he does this while I'm drawing, it would be footage that I would just cut out in editing. But today I decided to just leave it in and show him playing with my pencils and taking charge of my desk for anyone who wants to see this fluff ball. He's always there to help whatever I'm doing, and I think doing anything is just a lot more fun with the cat. I do have to be careful though. I'm generally always very careful about letting him bite pencils or try paints. Like, he will try, but it just means that I can never leave anything open. So can't leave paints open, gotta have a lid on my paint water and all that kind of stuff. I'm letting him bite the back end of the pencil, not the bit that has any kind of pigment or anything else to it. He just likes to play. Sometimes he steals pencils or rubbers off my desk, and then he'll play football around my feet while I'm drawing. He's very playful. And you gotta love the attitude on cats. Like, he's allowed to just come and plump himself in the middle of my work, but then I need permission to touch him. He'll decide if it's okay to be touched or not at this particular moment. Well, anyway, off he goes, and it's back to work. So, because this is an A3 sheet, which is quite large to be able to cover with pencils, I'm going to do the base layer with pan pastels. This basically allows me to create the first blended layer of color. They're a lot easier to blend than pencils. They're a lot quicker to put down than pencils for such a large kind of area. So yeah, I'm gonna pick some colors and do the base layer with pan pastels before then working the pencils on top and doing all the details and everything with pencils. When selecting which color to put down, I'm not actually trying to pick the final color that everything is going to be. Essentially what I'm looking for is the mid-tone, so that I can then work on top of it to add both highlights and lowlights and shadows and things. So any details that I want to add, I have to be able to add darker portions and lighter portions, and the color that I'm putting down for the base layer has to be suitable for both. I'm using a small sponge to apply this because it allows me to go around the smaller sections like the feet or the bends behind the knees and just get into all the kind of tiny areas. And I'm also using a colorless blender to blend the colors out. It doesn't lighten them by a lot. It does lighten them a little bit, but I don't mind that because I knew that I would be using it, and I selected the color knowing that I would lighten it a little bit with the colorless blender. But what the blender does, it allows the color to go down a little bit smoother with the applicator. Because there's no color on the page yet, the page has very kind of high grit. Pastelmat feels a little bit like sandpaper, and it grips the color, which is why it's good for pastels. But essentially it's quite hard to apply color onto the very first layer, or rather it's hard to blend it before there's any color on there. So the colorless blender makes the color kind of spread a little bit better and a little bit less kind of patchy, if I want to use that word. You can still sort of see some of the patchiness in places, but that's just because I've applied it very roughly, knowing that this is the base layer and there's going to be a lot of detail and things that go on top of this, so it won't be noticeable if I haven't applied it entirely too evenly. Now, the background, the trees, I'm probably gonna leave slightly out of focus, so I'm kind of putting them down just to show where they are. And again, if I want to add detail to this later, I can do. And if I want to leave it slightly kind of blurry looking because it's far away and it's not the main focus of this drawing, I can decide on that later. Another benefit of using the colorless blender is it actually makes your colors go a long way. I mean, it's not like that's much of a problem with pan pastels. They really do stretch. I mean, the colors last you a good while. The pans aren't very big, but when you use them, they really last. But using the colorless blender, especially for the first layer, not only makes it easier to go down, but you use less of your actual of your colors to get the coverage. So this is an A3 sheet of paper. If I was to do this with just pastel pencils, this would easily use up, like, I don't know, honestly, in terms of time, this would have taken me hours to do. And in terms of how much pencils, this probably would have gone through like easily more than half a pencil on each of the colors I've used, because obviously you need to sharpen them in order to get them to work, and the more you sharpen, the more you use, and just the coverage needed would have sharpened away and used up half of each of these colors on each of the pencils. Whereas with the pan pastels, it's literally not even made a dent to the pan. They're really perfect for base layers on big drawings. While I finish the base layer on this T-Rex, I want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to Epidemic Sound. They have a massive library of soundtracks and sound effects that make it really easy for creators to add music to their videos, basically on all social media platforms. If you're interested in checking them out, I'll leave a link in the description that will give you 2 whole months for free. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check them out. This is a Cyber Week offer, so it's only valid until the 28th of November. So go ahead and grab it, try 2 whole months of free music. Now that my base layer of color is done, I'm going to start adding detail, and I'm going to begin with a background. The reason I'm starting with a background and not the main feature, which is the T-Rex, is because what I don't want to do is spend hours and hours making the T-Rex perfect and then end up somehow messing it up while I'm working on a background. So if I start with a background, which shouldn't actually have all that much detail, just some to bring the drawing to life, and once the background is done, I can focus on the main point of the drawing, which is the dinosaur in the front, you know. I'm putting ferns into this bottom section of the kind of grassy looking patch that he's standing on, because one of the reference photos I was looking at had ferns and I thought it looked great. And obviously this isn't going to be needed for all of the land areas because the ones in the background are just too far away, so you won't even see anything like this kind of detail there. But in the front, because it's quite close to the viewer, to what you're looking at, I want to be able to give the eye something to look at, and ferns have nice little bit of detail to them. So I'm working onto the mid-tone that I've put down already, and I'm using a lighter green pencil to add the ferns, and then I'm going around and using a dark brown to surround each of the ferns with a darker color so they stand out more. I'm not filling in that brown completely, I'm just doing very kind of sketchy lines in between and then going over it with another dark green to blend the pencil with the pencil. So it's not completely blended, it's just slightly blended, and the colors kind of mix in while I'm blending them with the pencil. The section under the dinosaur needs to be darker than the others because obviously his mask casts a shadow on the area that he's next to. But I'm gonna darken it further after I've done all the other details. I'm also being quite careful and coming right up to the outline of the dinosaur, because what I don't want is to have a gap between his outline and the background, which is one of the reasons for doing the background first, so that if any kind of bits of background bleed into his outline, I can then, when drawing the dinosaur, I can go over those and there is no gap, and everything kind of meets perfectly, as it were. This section now feels like it's drawing your eye a bit too much, but that's only because it's at the moment it's the only section that now has any kind of detail in there. Once detail's added to all the other sections, this will kind of fall back into the background and not kind of draw your focus as much. Also, there are still highlights needed to make the ferns look better, but I tend to leave the highlights for the end. So after I've done other areas, I'll go around and add highlights to all the areas I feel need to be brightened up a bit. Uh-oh, he just stepped on it. I need to cover it up with glassine quickly before he helps me blend anything I don't want blended. I guess it's time for a little break. When he wants attention, he wants attention. Right, so this video is already a little bit longer than I planned for this week. So I'm gonna call this a part 1 and hopefully finish it by next week in part 2. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, do please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss part 2 next week. Thank you and see you soon.